Hey everybody, Jimmy Smith, my betting tips for UFC and boxing this weekend. I have a heavyweight title fight, undisputed heavyweight championship, Usyk versus Fury. But I'll get into the UFC first. This card, man, even for a fight night, a lot of names people don't know. I don't know, obviously, the kind of fights we're going to get. Maybe it's going to be amazing. But for name value, once again, we're still kind of suffering from that post-UFC 300 hangover, where we're kind of getting the leftovers like scraped onto a big plate, and this is what we're getting. Not that we won't get good fights, but storyline-wise, there's not a lot here. There's not even a lot of up-and-comers versus veteran guys. There are a couple of those stories on this one, but a lot of it is kind of separating the wheat from the chaff and fighters that we don't know if they're going to be any good. But one of the veteran versus up-and-comer fights starts off the main card. Angela Overkill Hill versus Lana Pinto. And this is one of those where I know Angie very, very well. We worked together a lot when I was with SiriusXM. By the way, I appreciate all the kind words about SiriusXM and the end of Unlocking the Cage. And it's a happy story for me because I'm just getting more work. I can't afford to keep doing it. But it's great to see the reactions and people really appreciating what I did there. I appreciate you guys as well. Enough of that. So I worked with Angela Hill a lot at SiriusXM. I've known her for a long time. Watched her coming up when I was down in San Diego training. She was part of Alliance. Anyway, Angie's problem is she's a very technical kickboxer. She's good. She doesn't have enough pop to get somebody out of there for the most part. So she has to outwork somebody for 15 minutes. She is the queen of the close decision. A lot of them didn't go her way, and I thought should have gone her way, but it's a lack of power. She can't put anybody down, so she has to kind of outwork them the whole time, and, that's subjective. So the problem with Pinto is Pinto herself, when she does get finishes, it tends to be on the ground. Angela Hill's not a slouch on the ground. Mackenzie Dern beat her, wasn't able to submit her. This just seems like the kind of fight where Angela Hill, with her UFC experience, is able to win minutes, win rounds, win fights. That's what veterans do. I think she's able to do that in this case. Look at her record, 16-13. She's fought some of the best, and I think it's one of those where Pinto not quite there. I didn't like how she looked against Karate Hottie. I thought she won, but it was a closer fight. I don't have a lot of faith in Michelle Waterson at the elite level. Coming off a loss to Amanda Hebos, got knocked out in that one. So she's good. She's not great. She hasn't had those great performances where I think she gets over the top with Angela Hill based on her finishing ability there. So I think Angela Hill outworks her, wins by decision. That's how I would start off the card. That's where I would bet on this one. Next, moving up to the what division? The bantamweight division. Adrian Yanez versus Venicius Salvador. The odds on this are absolutely through the roof. Why? Adrian Yanez has fought excellent talent. Salvador has yet to do that. I'm looking right now at DraftKings, and it's minus 395 plus 310. Absurd. Not really worth putting money on it unless you want to go for maybe the obviously the upset. Throw a little money at the upset. The odds don't make this a bettable fight. Yanez is good, not great. He's not excellent by any stretch of the imagination. He's the favorite because he has looked better against better names, right? Rob Font lost to Rob Font, but was in that fight before getting knocked out 3 minutes in. Of course, losing to Jonathan Martinez by leg kick, but a win over Davey Grant, who has some experience. It's basically he's been in there longer in the UFC. Vinicius Salvador has yet to get a win in the UFC. So I think that's what they're looking at. Came in, obviously, off the Contender Series. He's lost 2 in a row to unspectacular talent, both times by unanimous decision. So the fact that Yanez has just been in there against better guys gives him the advantage. He's probably going to win. The only bet worth making, of course, is for his opponent when you're looking at odds like minus 300. Doesn't make any sense to bet on to bet on anybody but Salvador, but Yanez is probably going to win. I would stay away from this one completely. Although my pick is Yanez. So, Themagorembo versus Ramirez, Ramiz, not Ramirez, Ramiz Bahimaj. The weird thing about Bahimaj is he is 10-4, yes, 10 wins, all of them by submission. That is extremely rare in this business. Even like a Damian Maia or a Jake Shields, like really submission-heavy games, don't have 100% finisher rates on the ground. Also, he doesn't have, like, that world-class Jacare, Roger Gracie, where I'm like, okay, this guy, Gordon Ryan, if you're a fan of submission grappling, he's not one of those, but he just tends to find the submission. The problem is he is also not well-rounded. 0 wins by knockout. So 10 wins, all of them finishes, all of them by submission. That is absurd in this business. The idea that you have 10 wins and you don't knock out one guy, you don't find one TKO, you get somebody in full mount and finish him. He doesn't have any. So what I'm seeing is a guy who's just, for people who know Rani Yahya, that kind of style, where it's submission grappling with MMA gloves on. But he just doesn't pack enough of a punch, and clearly he's not that well-rounded. He only finishes one way. But when it comes to his UFC career, it's been back and forth. He fought Court McGee, lost by unanimous decision. I was fortunate enough to train with Court McGee way back in the day when he first started his UFC career. He's a solid guy. Court McGee's just strong, solid, can do everything pretty well. And that's what we see, is that a lot of submission guys, even high-level guys, purple, brown, don't even have to have a black belt. I can stall you out. I can keep from getting submitted long enough to make my game a factor, and that's what Court McGee did in winning a unanimous decision. Max Griffin, same thing. Max Griffin knocked him out. Max Griffin's not a great fighter. He just knows what he's doing in every particular area. And so that's what I think is going to be the kryptonite here when it comes to Gorimbo. Both guys, by the way, are big welterweights. They're both 6 foot. They're big guys. Gorimbo has not a ton of knockouts, but he has 2 knockouts on his record. We saw in the Sato fight, he knows what he's doing. Decent footwork, decent range, decent combinations. Power against Pete Rodriguez the last time out, knocked him out in 32 seconds. I think he can do a little bit more. And a lot of times when I'm kind of on the fence about a particular fight, I go with the person who can do more. I tend to go against the specialist unless they have something that really makes me think they have an advantage here. I got to go with Gorimbo. Right now, looking at the odds, the odds on this fight. It is, Gorimbo minus 148. That'd be worth a bet. I would go Gorimbo in this fight. He is a slight favorite. The under is plus 130. So if you're going with Gorimbo, he might land something big early. He does have power. I would go with the under on this one. Those are my recommendations. Next one, Chaos Williams versus Carlston Harris. 2 guys physically really, really similar. The only thing really separating them is that Chaos Williams has fought better guys in his UFC career. Now, once again, doesn't mean he wins every time. Lost to Randy Rude Boy Brown. Baeza is decent. Finished him in the 3rd round. Michel Pereira went the distance with him. Abdul Razak Al Hassan, Alex Morano. Okay, decent mid-level guys. He's only lost to Pereira and Randy Brown. So Chaos Williams, once again, 6 foot for a welterweight. He's big, he's strong, he's 30, getting right into his physical prime. Harris a little bit older at 36, but once again, a 6 foot tall welterweight. The reason I would go with Kalen Harris in this is that experience differential. The best guy Carlston Harris has been against is Impa Kasangane, knocked him out in the 1st round. Great. Lost to Shavkat Rakhmonov. There's no shame in that. Rakhmonov, of course, undefeated and right now trucking everybody. But we just haven't seen how Harris does against step-up opposition yet. This is his big test. That's what they're testing out in this one. Can he get above the mid-level range? That's what they're testing with both guys. But Chaos Williams has been there, and Carlston Harris has not. But the line on this, very, very close. Chaos Williams minus 125, Harris plus 105. So pretty much a coin flip fight. Got to go with Chaos Williams based on that experience difference, right? He's been there with better guys, probably wins a decision. Main event, Edson Barboza versus Lerone Murphy. I have written off Edson Barboza I don't know how many times in my, picking career. He's always stuck around or gotten wins just in time to kind of save his career. I remember the times when he was elite. I remember, years ago when he was a striker who was very, very dangerous and was taking on top-level guys, not always winning, but he did have wins against really good opposition. As he's gotten older, his losses have gotten a lot more one-sided. And I remember when he got housed by Bryce Mitchell, who I don't have a ton of faith in, at 145. He just crushed him, and that's probably it for Edson Barboza. He's won his last 2. Now, was it against great guys? No, Billy Quarantillo and Sodiq Yusuff. Solid guys, not great. The great guys have beaten him. All right, Danny Gay, Paul Felder, Justin Gaethje, Kevin Lee, Khabib, right? I mean, it's just against those top level guys. And the wins he has in between, Dan Hooker, Shane Burgos, Makwan Amrakani, they have been mid-level. What we've seen is when he gets here, he loses. When he sinks back down to the mid-level, he can get a couple wins in there. Which one is this? Well, if you look at the storyline here, and Lerone Murphy is a slight favorite, 13-0, undefeated, hasn't fought anybody great. That's just a constant theme in the UFC, is undefeated, hasn't fought a great name. Here's a name who isn't beating great guys anymore. All right, can you get above that hump? That's what this main event is all about. Most of the time, you go with the young lion in this one. The odds here, I think, favor Murphy just slightly. Looking right now, minus 148 for Murphy. I think that's worth a bet. You can get in trouble betting against Edson Barboza because, like I said, he comes up with wins when you least expect it. But 13-0, undefeated, young, hungry lion, they want him to advance. Edson Barboza has a name, but, isn't in his prime. I think he's 38 years old. So I got to go with Murphy. Probably by decision. I don't think he finishes Edson Barboza. Barboza is still very, very tough. I would go Murphy by decision. Now, transitioning to the heavyweight division in boxing. This is a good one. We've been talking about it all week. Pro Box TV, that's my gig 5 days a week these days. So check it out, proboxtv.com. And we've been breaking this fight down a lot. Oleksandr Usyk taking on Tyson Fury for the undisputed heavyweight title in boxing. Here's the deal. Easy to lay out. And Timothy Bradley, Desert Storm, we were talking yesterday on the show, and he summed it up perfectly. He said, at his best, Fury wins. Fury is more skilled. He's bigger, 6'9", a gigantic heavyweight. He's been in a lot of big fights, been champ for a long time. At their best, he wins. Is he at his best? Usyk, very, very technical, right? Very composed. He's a small heavyweight. Really naturally and really a cruiserweight. 6'3", but kind of lean, right? So like 220, 215, around there. Great technical boxer. We saw it against Anthony Joshua. Good movement, good combinations, everything. But does he have the size to compete with Tyson Fury? And Tyson Fury is a very, very tricky fighter with a lot of range. Here's a question. If you're going with the X factors, you are looking at the Francis Ngannou fight where Fury didn't take it that seriously, didn't seem mentally there, got knocked down, barely won a fight. I thought he lost. I had it 5-5, and with the knockdown, I thought Ngannou won. And, this is a guy, if you're old enough to remember Riddick Bowe, not as bad as Riddick Bowe, but the up and down nature of his performances, where it's like if he takes it seriously, he can beat anybody in the world pretty easily. And then there are these fights where you're like, God, why is he struggling with this guy? Why is he, getting knocked down? Why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? It's the nature of his fights, right? If you look at the Deontay Wilder fight, right, in first one, of course, I thought he won, should have had decision. They called it a draw for some effing reason. Next one, he owns Wilder. But the one after that, he gets knocked down. It's multiple times. It's kind of a brawl back and forth he didn't have to get into. If you look at the up and down performances, you wonder if this is going to be a down one. Usyk is just solid. Usyk doesn't do anything stupid. Very, very Russian. Very, very Eastern European in the style, right? Which is not a lot of mistakes, good movement, doesn't do anything dumb, hands high, good combinations. Ta-da! There we go. All of that being said, I'm kind of going, and by the way, it's a coin flip fight. When you look at the odds, it's, I think last time I saw Usyk's plus 100, Fury's minus 105 or something ridiculous. It's pretty much the same. I'm kind of betting on the upset here. I think Usyk, as solid as he is, might take advantage of a Tyson Fury who's a little bit up and down. He's talked about his dude likes to party. And I think, obviously coming off a fight where he kind of embarrassed himself against Francis Ngannou, especially looking at what Joshua did to him. I think he is looking for redemption. If you look at the weigh-ins, he's looked a lot leaner. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. I think he's at his best when he's a little bit heavier. I'm just going with Usyk. I think his work rate's a little too much. I think he might catch Tyson Fury in, once again, an up and down performance. The only way is it's a coin flip fight. The one thing you can make money is right now the odds are very, very skewed for this one going the distance. And I think you can get good money, depending on your book, of course. Right now, I'm looking at MMA Mania. I don't know where they're getting their odds from, but yeah, they have it. Tyson Fury minus 120, Oleksandr Usyk plus 100, so about a coin flip. But under 10.5 rounds is plus 220. So, you can always say whether you're taking Fury or whether you're taking Usyk, that somebody gets caught. They're both heavyweights. You can make big money on under 10.5 rounds. You go over 10.5, it's minus 320. You just got to bet a ton of money. That's the smart bet, of course, is that it goes to decision, but hey, they're heavyweights. Anybody can get caught and dropped. I would take the under for the money. I'm going with Usyk in a slight upset. So I'll own my picks as always. Come Monday. Appreciate you. Enjoy your fight weekend.